We all know that Sonic is supposed to be fast. That's his entire brand. Sonic was built around speed. The Genesis was marketed around speed. But maybe you've noticed, the moment a Sonic game gets harder, that trademark speed goes right out the window. The levels get tighter. Precision replaces momentum, and suddenly the fastest character in the industry has to tiptoe through his own game. Now, that's not a difficulty curve, it's a warning sign, because the more challenging a Sonic game gets, the more the game has to take away the one thing it was built around. Most of us assume the reason is simple. Sonic just gets harder. The later levels demand more precision, more skill. If you can't handle the speed, well, that's on you. But that explanation doesn't make sense when you examine how the game progresses. Because to get through later levels, you don't learn to go faster. You learn to slow down. You stop holding forward. You hesitate before the next obstacle. You start treating Sonic like a precision platformer. And here's the point. Difficulty does not push you to use Sonic's speed better. It forces you to stop using it. Now, if speed were really the skill, beating the game would require you to continually get better at moving faster. But speed is not the skill. The skill is knowing when to stop using it. Now, to be sure, this is not just a feeling. It's built into how Sonic originally worked. From the very beginning, the game was never designed to be played at full speed all the time. Yuji Naka, Sonic's creator, expected players to move slowly at first, to learn the level, then come back and speed through it quickly. As it turns out, that's not how early playtesters approached the game. They held forward immediately. They chased the speed right away, and who can blame them? So the design had to adapt. It's what led Naka to develop the ring system, not to reward speed, but to protect you from it. When you get hit, you lose your rings, but grab at least one, and you're able to still keep moving. It's basically the game design saying, we expect you to get hit. Not because you made a mistake, but because most of us, like those early playtesters, can't help but chase the speed and the diminished reaction times that go with it. So the ring system is really just absorbing the collision between speed and challenge, no pun intended. The faster you play, the more the game shifts from control to recovery. And that changes what Sonic actually is. Speed stops being the core skill, and oddly enough, now becomes the problem the game has to solve. Here's the key to understanding the core of this dilemma. Sonic's speed was never built to support challenge. It was built to win attention. Sonic the Hedgehog was created to beat Super Mario Bros., not by doing platforming better, by doing the opposite. Mario already owned precision platforming, so Sega chose speed. Naoto Oshima, another one of Sonic's original creators, put it this way. In the beginning, the one and only idea we had for Sonic was speed. Because speed is instantly recognizable. You don't need to understand the mechanics, you just watch Sonic fly across the screen and immediately understand that this is not Mario. That mattered because Sega needed contrast. The Genesis processor ran faster than the Super Nintendo. Sega turned that hardware advantage into an identity advantage. That's why they pushed blast processing. Not because it fundamentally changed gameplay, but because it made speed visible. And it worked. Sonic sold over 15 million copies as the game bundled with the Sega Genesis and became the game most tied to the Genesis itself. But perhaps Sega didn't realize that by embracing that success, they would create an ongoing structural problem. because speed only works when the player can actually see what's coming. Fewer obstacles and enemies, clearer paths. That equals more time to react. That's what you often find in early and some midpoint levels in Sonic games. But challenge needs the opposite. More enemies, more obstacles, less room for error. That's the trade-off with Sonic. The game can be fast, or it can be challenging. But every time it tries to become more of one, it becomes less of the other. That trade-off became impossible to hide when Sonic moved into 3D, because in 3D, everything is amplified. Now you're not just fighting the speed, you're fighting the camera. This is why the often cited best parts of Sonic Adventure rely so heavily on automation. Things like dash panels, springs, straightaways, scripted sequences. The game has to keep guiding you because the faster Sonic moves, the less time you have to make decisions for yourself. Takashi Iizuka, director of Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, admitted this openly. He said the automatic camera system is what made 3D Sonic possible. Without it, players would simply get lost and then lose the sense of speed. So, once the camera has to guide the player, Sonic's speed is no longer something you control. It becomes something the game controls for you. Sonic is still fast, that's still his trademark, but now the entire experience is built around containing that speed before it breaks everything else around it. Once Sonic accepts that trade-off, you can see the entire series bending around it. In 2D, Sonic's speed becomes conditional. You're only fast when the level is built to support it. The rest of the time, you're slowing down. You're waiting. You're learning where the danger is before you get there. Then, when Sonic moves into 3D, it pushed the problem even further. The game had to become more scripted, more guided, because once Sonic gets too fast, you stop feeling in control. And perhaps this is why Sonic vs. Mario was no longer the heavyweight matchup it once was during the 16-bit era. Because Mario gets more satisfying the more challenging and expansive his games become. Sadly, it seems Sonic gets more restrictive. The faster Sonic moves, the more the game has to slow you down, guide you, or just simply take control away. Speed is still Sonic's identity, but it also ends up becoming the very thing the game has to protect you from. The Sonic series didn't decline because the developers forgot what made it work, and it didn't struggle because players couldn't keep up. The problem is that Sonic's identity creates a dilemma that has never gone away. Speed needs space. Challenge needs time to think. But the harder a Sonic game gets, the less room there is for speed to survive. That's why the series keeps changing. Momentum becomes automation. Exploration becomes scripting. Freedom becomes guidance. Not because Sonic lost his identity. It's because the closer Sonic gets to real challenge, the more the games have to take that identity away. Sonic is not a speed-based series that struggles with challenge. It's a challenge-based series trapped inside a speed fantasy. So I'd like to know your thoughts. Do you think Sonic is better when it lets you go fast or when it slows down and tries to challenge you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you made it this far, as always, thank you so very much for watching. And until next time, happy gaming, my friends.